ladies and oh no, it says just remove the destination on the stream and then re-add it. Okay. Looks like Facebook cut me off. What the heck? Okay. Let's see, edit. Let's all right, now let's put it back on. Save changes. Okay. Hey everybody, I'm having weird technical things again. It said it got deleted from Facebook, and I had to delete it myself and then re-add it, so no one's probably here. That's neat. Boy, this happens a lot, doesn't it? I need a studio and just start making canned videos. There's a new feature on the stream today where the comments show up on the screen automatically. Because I know a lot of, like, we have people on YouTube and we have a lot of people on Facebook, and they don't see each other's comments. So this might actually be a pretty good deal. I don't know what that shadow is. That's weird. Oh, I see. Hey, now people are showing up. Sorry about the technical whatever. It wasn't me, I swear. I got my trusty Junior here. I'm going to wait for everybody to kind of get on. I'm doing KT77s again. I was going to do something else, but we had some good news last night. Got some money coming in. First batch of money for getting 65 going. Ooh, and my old hands are cold. I'm sorry you guys got to endure this every week. Once you get up to my age, which is 147 metric, you do the math. Hey, Hoss. How are you, buddy? I'm sorry we didn't get a hookup before the show. Strangely enough, your comment is right behind my camera's handle, and all I can see is Squire. What does it say? Good evening, Squire. Oh, okay. Good evening, sir. Good to see you, Gov. So you can see the comments show up there on the side of the screen now. Oh my God, it's like it's 2009. Live streaming really has a way to go, doesn't it? For some reason, my Junior's really slippery today. It doesn't want to sit on my lap. It wants to just slide off. And I don't have a strap handy to put on, so you'll see me fidgeting all day. This is a really good combination that I like. I hope it's coming through in my, sorry, I kicked the mic there. In my headphones, I'm getting sort of the little bit wild quality of the 77s. They're not quite as neat and tidy as the L34s. We can actually swap them out while I'm here if you want. And then my Junior is not really staying in tune yet because it's a Gibson. And you know how they can be. Anyway. Yeah, it just won't hold. That's crazy. God dang Gibsons. When you're sitting here listening on headphones, you hear everything, you know. Like you hear every note. there's a little bit of a twang to a Junior. A little bit of a twang, not a whole lot of twang, not telly twang, but just a nice little P90 twang with body to it, and sounds like it would cut in a mix. Exactly. Thank you, Hoss. You go back down to clean. Let me turn that up just a hair. It's kind of low. Let me go back over here. Let's get these levels a little better. Hold on a second. I'm going to boost this guitar up just a bit. There we go. I'd kind of messed around. All right. So, back here. Yeah, there we go. So there's a neat detail on the 77s, all KT tubes really. So it's kind of one of the things, and Hoss, you nailed it. That's why you have to be my co-host. One of the things I've learned from being in a studio a lot over decades is that things that you think are clean really aren't. And things that you think are super dirty really aren't. They all kind of live in the mid-range. Like, for example, if you can go on YouTube and... if you can go on YouTube and listen to isolated bass lines from a lot of your favorite songs, the bass is actually pretty dirty. Especially when you get into stuff like Cheap Trick. Tom Peterson was just playing through Marshalls and high watts, loud as hell, But John Entwistle, I'm out of tune again already. Dang, Gibson, what is going on? John Entwistle's parts, a G string. It's always a G string on a Gibson. I guess I got to get down, break down, and get that Big Ben's nut sauce or something. I'm thinking I'm going to put locking keys on this guitar as well. It's boring as shit watching somebody tune, I know. I tend to hit a guitar really hard, so I knock it out of tune quickly. I apologize. But having this little extra bit of hair on these tubes. Hey, Chad Boston, how are you, buddy? It's Chad Boston from the Line 6 Helix group with 37 million members or whatever. It's huge. And Chad runs it all. If you own a Helix too, he makes a lot of really cool accessories to go with the Helix. So anyway, having this little bit of extra hair around the guitar when you're playing in a band or you're trying to record is really beneficial. Good, Chad's doing great. Awesome. Now, it may sound a little unkempt if you're used to a lot of modern amps. They try to make the guitar sound like it does on a recording. And so, Jay Frisbee, hey buddy, what's happening? But that's not the real world. That's what it sounds like after you've gone through a microphone and a preamp and an EQ and a compressor. Oh, you're going to be out in Calabasas, Chad? Going to go out there and see the boys at Line 6? Yeah. I don't know if I'll be out there or not, but if I am, we'll hook up. Looking at the new stuff. Anyway, back to my point. It's taken me forever to get to. The KT tubes, the 77s, 66s, and 88s, I know there's big ones like KT150 or something, but that's like it's not really practical for a guitar amp, maybe for a bass amp. P90 noise. 90-year-old house, P90s. Did you hear that little extra hair on there? So when you're in a band situation, especially, or you're playing with your buddies, or you're at home just cutting tracks in Logic or Pro Tools, that extra little bit of texture really lets your guitar stand out without you having to pump it in the mix. And as you guys have probably figured out, nothing's worse than listening to a track that was mixed by a guitar player, because all you hear is the guitars. And that's neat. We all love guitars. However, there's a whole band there, or a whole other set of tracks that aren't being heard. So this allows you to get around that a little bit. When you listen to a lot of, I hate to say it, Chad, since you're talking about line 6, but you listen to a lot of amp models, they've taken out all this extra texture. And that's a realism thing. There are some models in Helix I know that are really good and don't do that. I know there are for some other digital platforms as well. Neural is really great. So is Helix. I've heard, hey, Francois from Quebec, welcome. God darn it, this is driving me crazy. Guess I got to restring this guitar or something. Either that or the nut's grabbing. It's a brand new nut too, so. Sorry, I apologize. There we go. Hopefully it'll hold for 5 minutes. This is my 58 Custom Shop reissue. I got the Music City Bridge on it. Brand new fossilized Mastodon ivory nut that I'm kind of having little issues with, I guess. Probably just needs to be lubricated. Which remark do you resemble, Phil? Which one? Guitar players, mixing, yeah. Bud does a pretty good job. Yeah. You're talking about Brendan? Yeah, he has mastered making guitars loud as hell in a mix without destroying the song. But man, I can tell right away people send me tracks and a guitar player mixed this. Because it makes sense when you got your headphones on and you're mixing, or you're at home with your studio monitors, and by the 25th time you've gone through the track, I'm just going to push the guitar a little bit, just going to do a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit. The next thing you know, the guitar is just crazy. Yeah, Phil, well, you're normal. It's kind of an old axiom in the business. You do not let guitar players mix your tracks. Like, the best engineers that I know don't really play guitar. Tom Sorowski is the guy Brendan used forever. He plays guitar, but just basic, sitting around the house kind of goofing away. He never played for a living. If the guitar stays in tune, this amp sounds great. Blood starting to get into my old hands. Most are drummers, yeah. Because that's another old axiom in the studio, is that you're only as good. Any track is only as good as its drum sounds. People don't give crap what the guitar sounds like. I mean, guitar players do. You and I do. But most people don't. What are the tone controls on this amp? So it's our old Soho setup. So on the first part over here on the clean side, there's just bass and treble. When you do the bump, there's just a tone knob, right? Over here. This isn't really, this amp's more of a proof of concept. As far as the actual new prototype amp we're going to make, I'm not sure it's going to be this. I just wanted to show that I can manage power, because right now I'm running at like 20 watts. It's a pair of KT77. If I go like this, you're going to hear it drop. Now this is 9 watts. Doesn't change, doesn't feel any different. If I bump the gain up on it, it sounds exactly the same. But that's only half of it, my friends. I'm here to tell you today. If I go like this, and we would never release an amp with all these switches on it, don't worry. This is just prototype. This is 2.7 watts. Feels exactly the same here. Sounds the same. Distortion hasn't changed. Here, let me do this. Let me bump up the gain on this and run it at 2.7. This is 2.7 watts. All right, now let me get the channels. You probably lost it there. Hold on. Let me get the channels back together. My interface is kind of weird. I have to gang them together to get you to hear it. That's at 2.7 watts. Does that sound any different to you? Not to me. Doesn't feel any different here. It feels exactly the same. So every amp in the history, hey, Rob Taylor, what a pleasure it is to tune. I know, I'm sorry. I have a problem. Hi, my name's Dan. I'm addicted to in-tune guitars. Good to see you, Rob. I'm glad you're here, buddy. So in my lifetime, which I'll confess has been 59 years, I started playing guitar in 1977. So that's what, 48 years ago? 49, it's coming up soon. Whenever you drop the voltage on an amp, the distortion changes and the feel changes. Now you can get where you play quiet and it sounds pretty cool. That's 2.7 watts. I mean, these tubes are barely on. So what I'm doing though is we're dynamically changing the way that it receives current and the bias. Most amps, they just starve it. They just cut, variac it down and you get a different sound. So I haven't seen this before. I've seen a lot of amps, when you drop down the power, they sound good. They sound really good. They do not sound the same. And that's the thing. Especially if you want to record. I don't know what it's like where you live, but here in Los Angeles, like 2.7 watts, if I run this through a 112 cabinet, I have a little 112 over here with a 70s Celestion M. I can't mic it up in my house. My wife's office is back here, and my daughter's right there in a room. But when I get my new shop, which is coming, we'll start doing that again. I'll show you. But if you run this through a 412, it's fine. Like, you can play a gig. It's totally cool. And the amp you can run it into real natural distortion. It sounds great and it feels perfect, right? But if I run it through a little 112 with a lower SPL speaker, it's darn quiet. It's coffee house volume. It's not playing at home next to the television volume. For that, I have another product coming for that. But to to me, that still sounds exactly the same, right? Now, if I run it back up to 20 watts, now it's a pair of KT77s. It can run at 50 to 55 watts. So these tubes are, at this rate, these tubes are going to last 100 years. Yeah, Francois, if you have a 412 cabinet, 2.7 watts is plenty loud, believe it or not. It's hard to believe. I'll just have to show you. When we get the new shop, I'll run it into a 412, and you'll see. Not a loud stage, not a big rock and roll band stage, but I don't know what it's like where you live, but where I live, the bands aren't allowed to play loud on stage. And they also, most of the clubs around here have really good PA systems. So they just mic you up. And then that way the vocal monitors are very effective. And everybody's comfortable on stage. Jay, I have talked to Celestian about the Peacekeeper. Andy Farrow has offered me some samples. I just got to send him the email and get it. But I played it at NAMM. Sounds killer. If you had that speaker with 2.7 watts, you could definitely play in your living room. And you'd get that big sound. Everybody's, I want to sound like, Cheap Trick at Budokan, but in my living room or in my bedroom. Okay. But anyway, Jay, I want to order some samples from Celestian. Let's move this back up to 9 watts. And it's going to be too loud now. I'm going to have to adjust it. Let's see. Let me just drop it just a hair. The difference between 9 watts and 2.7 is not enormous. All right, now let's gang them back together. So this is at 9 watts now. Doesn't sound any different to me. I'm listening in very high definition headphones. These are not like cans you sit around and listen to music with. These are studio, nice earphones, headphones that are very detailed. So you get the idea, right? Like it works. So that's the proof of concept here that I then want to extrapolate across a whole bunch of amps. And as I've spoken about before, so those of you who heard it, just ignore it. But what's a DT 770, Phil? So, we have some amps that we discontinued because the tubes couldn't take it. In this configuration, any tube can take it. You can buy the cheapest Chinese, headphones. Yeah, I don't know what these are. These are DT 990 Pros. Similar, probably very similar. I forgot model numbers on the headphones. Thank you, Phil. So, like you guys remember the Royal Albert? Ran on KT77s. Keith Urban bought like 12 of them. And Rich Robinson was playing them and a few other big artists. And we really loved that amp and it was great. And then all of a sudden the KT77 started failing. And then the replacements that I ordered were worse. I had to discontinue the amp. Majorly disappointing, majorly embarrassing, and majorly annoying. That's right, Haas. The Watt is, what's his name? James Watt or something. So I can bring that back, and I talked to Keith, and it was just super nice, by the way, if you ever get a chance to deal with the guy. He's really genuinely sweet dude. I said, hey, I want to, re-engineer the Albert. And he was excited. Great. I'll send you a couple of them. He's going to send me a couple for experimenting on. Excuse me. I just hiccup-burped right into the podcast. The Stone Pony, which I think is one of the better sounding amps we ever made. Stone Pony is just a rock and roll machine. ran on 7591s, went through the same exact cycle. Like we got the first 6 months of tubes we got from the manufacturer. Hey, Mark Diamante, not that much. I was playing the amp at 2.7 watts. I'm at 9 watts now. Let's go back down to 2.7 just for shiggles. I'll have to adjust the gain on this again. Give it a second to rebias. Yeah, Mark has a Stone Pony. Whoever has a 4-tube Stone Pony, I need that amp. I will upgrade it for you and give it back, or I'll buy it from you, whatever you want. So now I'm down at 2.7 watts. Let me get the gain back up where it needs to be just a little bit. And little, you can grab these tubes. They're not hot at this level. Oh, that is you, Mark. Okay, great. Yeah. Just gonna drop the overall level. Yeah, we gotta talk, Mark. I need that amp. There's not many 4-tube ones around. So if you want, I will do this to it. I'll give you a transformer where it'll still be full power if you want it. And then you can drop it down like this. Or you can just sell it to me. I'd be happy to buy it from you. Anyway, that amp was really cool. So was the Royal Albert. We made another thing called the Rocket 88, which is what this actually chassis, you can see it there. It says Rocket 88. Ran on KT88s. Went through the same damn problem. The funny part is KT88s are supposed to take like 650 watts or 700, volts. Excuse me. Yeah, you won't need the master anymore, Mark. Gone. We can leave it there, but you won't need it. So the funny thing is, KT88s are supposed to take 600 volts or something. We set this amp up to run at about 420, 430, thinking, oh my God. The spec sheet, when you buy tubes, there's a spec sheet, and it says max plate voltage, 600 volts or 650 or something crazy. And so we thought, well, running it at 430 is going to be fine, right? Was not. Went through the same exact cycle. Tube manufacturers they just give you the spec sheet from the original design, which the tubes don't work like that anymore. So it was really frustrating. So with the first few batches we got worked great. We thought, oh, cool, this amp sounds so good. If you remember Dead Sarah, especially, I think a lot of you guys here on the show became fans of Dead Sarah. Susie was playing a Rocket 88, and God, it sounded good. If you listen for their track, go on YouTube. I think it's The Weatherman. That's a Rocket 88 just blowing your brains out, and it sounds really good. So we can do that again, only at when I first brought this amp out, it had 88s in it, right? If you guys remember, like a month ago or 6 weeks ago, it had 88s in it. They sound killer. And at 2.7 watts, I mean, they're huge bottles. They're expensive tubes, like $60 a piece. But now you won't lose any tone at all, Mark. It'll sound exactly the same. We've got it sorted out. We've been working on it for a while. New power transformer that can supply what the tubes ask for. And we also have a biasing system in here that automatically keeps things correctly. It's not cathode bias, though. That's the crazy thing. We might switch it over to cathode bias just for production ease, but I like cathode biased amps better anyway. Jay Frisbee says, I'm not really even that big a country fan, but Keith's solo tone in my top 3 tones of all time. So if there's a way to get that Royal Albert back out on the market, I'd be very excited. Yeah, thanks, man. When I worked with Keith, it was so much fun because he's a cool dude. And, everyone in his organization is really professional and nice. And, at the time, everybody just cleaned up, right? So everybody was sober. And you saw Susie's Rocket 88, yeah. So it was just nice, like his manager Gary Borman's nice, Stage managers are nice. You know, his assistants really. Everybody's really cool. It's a nice organization. And so Keith is a very generous guy. And one time he called me and said, I want you to come over. They were doing dress rehearsals at the auditorium where the Phoenix Suns play. It was obviously not basketball season. Is that a glass of gin? Yeah, no. Vodka, man. Vodka, the true drink of all alcoholics worldwide. No, it's just water. I barely drink after having heart surgery. So, anyway, you know, and Phoenix is like a 5-hour drive from here. So my business partner, Phil, and I went, yeah, what the hell? We'll come over. And we had this whole basketball arena, no one there. And he's rehearsing, doing dress rehearsal for like a week. You know, they're testing the lights and, you know, everything. It was really neat. And so we went over there, got a hotel, played a little golf, rode some bicycles, and hung out with Keith during the whole day. So I got to play his stage rig, which at the time was 4 Royal Alberts. He had 2 going through 412 cabinets and 2 going through 212 cabinets. And let me tell you, it was like Hendrix at Woodstock. I mean, it was, I've never played a rig that loud. Yeah, you're right, Hoss. You get better harmonics out of cathode bias too. God, I get the hiccups. Sorry. Anyway, Keith was great. So I'm playing through 200 watts of Royal Alberts through the PA system, you know, for their stage rig. It was, and I was playing, I had his wireless rig on, right? So I could walk so far away that there was a lag, like, you know, I don't know how those guys get used to it. I never got used to it. I sounded like I was drunk. And I got to play with the band. You know, he wanted to hear it. So he's out sitting in the seats and I'm playing his rig with his band. It was the coolest thing ever. That's when guys like Brian Nutter were in his band, and Brian's, you know, now making guitars. I don't know if you guys know that, Nutter Guitars. Brian's a great player, huge Marshall freak. He has the Marshall Plexi Circuit tattooed on his shoulder. That's how much he loves Marshalls. If you ever talk to Brian, they're all just really nice people. Anyway, so my long-winded way of saying, I remember how good that amp sounds. And he was really happy with it, as far as I know. His guys were telling me, hey, man, you set the record. He played my stuff for, I think, 18 months or something. And then he still went down this whole Dumble track, which you can't compete with that, right? I really dig this sound, though, with the 77s. The Albert is a different front end circuit than this, but it's a similar vibe. And it takes pedals. I can put the Klon in it. Probably tune that Klon a little better. This is a direct drive. Oh, I got to tell you a story about pedals. This is the Barber direct drive. Marshall in a box, right? A little vibe. You're going to vibe for fun. Anyway, you get the idea. It's friendly. It's very friendly. So speaking of pedals, like I think I've told you guys forever, I made my living for a long time with a Rat pedal and an Echoplex. The original Rat, the big square one that didn't even have a light on it. Like you only knew it was on because you could hear it. Back in the days when you had to use your ears, boy. I didn't need no light to cheat. Total horseshit. They just hadn't put a light on it yet. But the original one sounded really good, you know, and they had integrated circuits, chips, right? They had a unique IC in that first version that they ran out of. Military surplus, I think, is what it was. And so they had to switch. But that first one sounded killer. That was the sound of the Sunset Strip in the 80s, right? And I just had a plexi with a rat pedal and an Echoplex, and that was fine. Rob Price, no, it's not. It's kind of, but it's a treble mid bass, but it's not set up exactly the same. It's loosely based on the Selmer treble and bass. We just added a mid-range knob. Walked to a gig in the snow uphill both ways. That's right, with no shoes on. So anyway, I was talking about that to a friend of mine, Phil Fuson, who comes on here. He's a producer, used to do all the music for like, what do you call it, Nat Geo and Discovery and all that stuff. And he did it with 65s. So he goes, Josh Scott makes a rat pedal that's got like 9 different rat versions all in one thing. And I was like, really? And I got to run. All right, thanks, man. Yeah, Mark, I'll call you. I just got my first batch of money last night, I think, so I need to get that amp. Yeah. I'll cover all your expenses. Don't worry. It's all you gotta do is get it in a box. So anyway, I called Josh. I wrote a note to Josh. When, hey, Josh is from Missouri, like where I'm from. He lives in Kansas City, Grandview, a suburb of Kansas City. And we had talked at the LA Amp Show a whole lot, doing Missouri homie talk. I have a lot of family in Kansas City. I was born in this little town called Sedalia, which is like 40 miles from Kansas City. It's an outer burb of Kansas City. And tons of family there, right? Tons of family. And he's a super nice guy. I try to avoid, there's a whole lot of not nice people in our business. Josh is one of the really nice ones. So every time I see him, I'm always really happy to see him. Like, hey man, how you doing? And, I went to Mizzou, University of Missouri, and we just talked about all that nonsense. And he's a super friendly guy. And if you've watched his podcast, he's really, really bright as well and makes a lot of great pedals. And he's just a gentleman. He reviews other people's pedals and tells you they're great, He never trashes his competition. He's a real gentleman. Anyway, so I wrote him a note and I said, hey, Josh, I put groceries on the table with a rat pedal for a decade. Literally paid my rent with my guitar, using a rat pedal and an Echoplex. Someone just told me, yes, I can. Jorn, absolutely. I can put that new transformer in a high-powered Monterey for sure. Let's talk to me offline and we can do that. No problem. Or if you have a TAC where you live, I can show them. It's just a power transformer. It's nothing magical about it. It's just got more taps on it. So you got to do some switching, which is not that difficult. But anyway, someone told me, I was watching videos online. I go, oh man, a couple of those notches on his little wheel. He's got a wheel with a bunch of different settings on it, different versions of the rat. One of the first ones sounded just like I remember my rat pedal sounding. And can I just get an industry accommodation? I'd like to buy one from you. And he goes, oh no, let me just send you one. And he's got one of the blim, where the powder coating's got a bubble in it or something. Could not care less, right? I'm 60 years old and I'm 6'1". I can't even see my pedals on the ground. I got to put on glasses to adjust the knobs. So if there's a tiny blim in it, could not care less. So he's just sending it to me. It's going to be here tomorrow. So I'm going to, problem is my pedal board's running out of room. I'm going to figure out a way to get it on my pedal board or get a new pedal board. And you guys can hear it because one of the things we used to do to test all of our amps was have a bunch of pedals and make sure it's friendly. But if I get, I think a rat pedal into this would be really good. A good rat. There's bad rats. There's bad versions of the rat. Well, not bad. There's not, they're not amazing. So anyway, my official recommendation to you is if you want to do business with somebody and you want to like working with nice people, I'm not going to name the people that aren't nice, but Josh Scott's really nice. JHS pedals, right? Color Boost for the win. Oh yeah, Color Boost is great. Unfortunately, that's made out of unobtainium now. Those germanium transistors that are in that thing, they don't exist anymore. I can't find them anywhere. No one has them. When we were making them over at ETI, there was a guy that we suspected had every last good germanium transistor in the world, and we bought them all. It was like 370 transistors or something like that. And we bought them all, and we made the color boost and, the color fuzz and the color bender, all that stuff. And the bender has 3 germanium transistors in it, and the fuzz has 2. So we went through them quickly. It wasn't that many pedals. It was 150 pedals or something, which we sold in 2 weeks. So if you have a color boost pedal, hang on to it. Let's try some clean stuff here. I can show you pedals on the clean for sure. So if I do dirt on this side, I really like it. That's a clone. A clone. Turn that off, right? This is the Barber Direct Drive. Oh yeah, the color face. I missaid when I said fuzz. Yeah, that's right. It's a good pedal. Frank Falbo helped on that and really got it right. If I just do a clean booster into the front of this, the Zio, that's just slamming that first tube, right? Nice natural distortion. So the amp likes pedals. I can put a little verb back here. I only have, this is a single pickup P90, so there's not a lot of good... a lot of good detail there. They can hear the P90, right? Hoss Thompson says, I don't plug into an amp without the color. Oh, that's great, man. Yeah, it's a good pedal. Sadly, I hate to confess, I don't have one. People would just offer me so much money for mine. I'm like, yeah, okay, I'll just make another one. It's no big deal. And then we ran out of parts. Dipshit. It's my thing. I even fought with the studio engineers about it being first in line. And, it has to be first. Germanium has to be. Your guitar has to be plugged into germanium. Otherwise, you just lose half the tone. And you know that, right? I'm old, man. I like that vibe. Yeah, you're right. I do. I won the fight through incontrovertible evidence. You are right, sir. It is incontrovertible. And when you hear it, you could just show it to somebody and go, listen. And they go, oh, you're right. It's kind of funny with the advent of the gear page. There's a lot of people on there. I can't quite figure it out. It's not just the gear page. It's worldwide on social media and everything. But there's people that just are really, really thirsty to be an expert in the room, right? Hey, Mark. I'll get to you, Mark. No problem. I'm happy to repeat it. There's just an element of certain people that just want to be right. You know what I mean? Like, they read something or they have a limited experience with something and they make a poor assumption based on limited input, right? If I look out the window right now, I can say all trees are green and I'll fight you to the death because I can see outside my window and every tree out here is green. Well, we all know that's not true. There's a lot of different color trees in the world, and especially in the fall. But if I were one of those people, I would just argue and start calling you names and insulting you and question your genetic background and your lineage, your IQ. you know, I'm the opposite of that. So I just know from playing germanium, there's an impedance relationship between the pickup and that germanium transistor that give it that sound that's so freaking cool. It goes for a fuzz face, a treble booster, a tone bender, all those kinds of circuits that are relying upon germanium. If your guitar is not plugged straight into that, even if you're going through a buffer and then that, if your guitar is not plugged straight into that, now if you do have one of those radial switches with a drag control on it, you can fake it, but it's not the same. So anyway, I just don't get it. So my point of telling you this is, when you go on the internet and you read stuff like that, take it with a grain of salt. You know, you guys are all smart people who can think for yourself. Yeah, Rob, thanks. He said, of all the fuzz faces, I like that one the best. We're one of the only ones using germanium. Most guys are using silicone. Dunlop version, Hendrix, Bonamassa, color face is the best. Yeah, all the ones you mentioned are not germanium. That's why. It doesn't exist. I mean, I'm buying vintage old school parts for a lot of money. And Dunlop makes pedals, they can't afford to do that. Hoss, yeah, that's right. If you think you're the smartest guy in the room, I guarantee you're not. Smart people do not think they're the smartest person in the room. Smart people know what they don't know. They also know that new information can change their mind. They're dynamic. They can absorb new information and new experiences and go, I'm adjusting my point of view here. I'm adjusting my opinion. And that comes with guitar gear, I hear people say things that they're well-intended and they're not assholes and they're not stupid or anything like that. It's just a mistake, I had an argument with a guy recently about, it wasn't even an argument, just a discussion. It's not an argument on my end. Arguing about certain amps used on certain records, and he was arguing for an amp that hadn't even been invented yet. And because he read it on the gear page that some band used this amp for all their records going back, and it doesn't exist. The amp wasn't invented until the 90s. Anyway, so Mark's on the air. Let's talk about it. Sorry if I missed the explanation. What are the fundamental differences between the new power switching you've talked about and the master voltage knob? Oh, okay, so big difference. With the master voltage knob, I am on a pot dropping the voltage down on the tubes. The current does rise on that, but the bias doesn't change. With this setup, the bias is adjusting at the same time. And it just comes out better. It just comes out cleaner. It's your brother, late to the party. Hey, there's Phil Fuson. This will make the dish doing much more fun. Set them straight, Dan. Oh, I'm just trying to tell these guys that they're smarter than people on the gear page will tell them. So, Mark, it's a little step forward from the master voltage knob. It's also less dependent on that whole circuit, and there's a big MOSFET in there that is sort of a point of failure sometimes. Does it sound amazingly better? No, but it does sound better. If you have an amp with the master voltage, you're not missing out on anything. It'll still do what you want. But it's just a more elegant solution, I think is the best way to say it. It's a safer solution. It's a more elegant solution. And we're getting the full benefit of the power transformer. So like on the regular master voltage, when I drop the voltage low enough, the power transformer can't actually supply the current that it's supposed to. And you guys have probably noticed when you get the master voltage down really, really low, you lose a lot of dynamics and it gets a little squishy and it changes. When we go down to 2.7, I can't really go much lower. I mean, the B plus on this at 2.7 watts is 105 volts. I have 120 coming out of the wall. Whereas normally for KT77s, they'd be running around 440 volts B plus, that's the voltage on the plates of the tube, right? The anode, the B plus voltage. And right now it's running at 105 volts. Yeah, the Bonamassa has Russian. Okay, yeah, that's cool. Yeah, there's very few on the ground. Maybe they found a stash of them and used them. You can kind of fake it. You can get by. So, Mark, does that answer your question? It's just a little step forward. It's going to be a little safer. You know, with the master voltage, we had a great luck with that. It works really well. But some of those MOSFETs would die because they're doing a lot of work. We had to put a heat sink on them, you know, and everything. They're absorbing a lot of electricity, and so the power transformer in front of that master, the bias part is part of it, but when we're dropping the master voltage, the power transformer is still wide open. We're adjusting the electricity after the power transformer. With this setup, it's the power transformer that's actually dropping the voltage, and the current's going up. So it's a little different. It's safer that way. I think it's more predictable this way, and it's definitely more flexible. So it gives me a lot of design ideas. Or design options. Let me get my vocabulary in line here. It gives me a lot of design options that I didn't have before. Like resurrecting these tubes. You know, these are 77s in here. This is what was in the Royal Albert. And, man, I love these tubes. I mean, I could pop some 34s in here real quick if you want to hear the difference. A lot of detail in there, right? That's the current, right? Because the tubes are really happy. Do you hear a lot of P90s that sound that defined? And then I tried the foot switch, and the foot switch jack is broken. So wherever this knob is, when you put the foot switch in, it just stays there. The knob, the switch is defeated, and it just stays. So if I'm in with the bump off, no matter what I do, the bump stays off. It's pretty funny. This is an old chassis, right? Ah, Haas, I'm missing that sensational scratch. Well, I can bring it back. It's right over here. But we are running out of time today. So why don't next... Oh, I got verb on still. Not a verb guy with distortion. Yeah, the vocabulary, man. Vocabulary is a really crucial. I love it that you guys bust my balls about that. I really do. I like it. So it gives me a lot of vocabulary. So anyway, next week for Haas Thompson, why don't I stick some EL34s back in here? We'll bring out the Gretsch again, do a little comparison. I was thinking possibly also, this transformer is not optimized for it, but I could stick in some KT66s or some 6L6s. We have another amp we're going to get this transformer in here shortly that used to be a producer 6L. I have to order another one of these transformers. And once this money gets in the bank, we're off to the races. I'm kind of been slow walking this now just because of money. But we got a sizable chunk of money in the bank, and we're going to start hitting the ground running. So I have another chassis that used to be a producer 6L, and I would like to try 6L6s in there, 5881s, and KT66s, and see what you guys think. I'd love to get your feedback from it. Now, the producer, as you remember, was already kind of down the path of low voltage, high current. We're going to take it further. Right? So, Krug for breakfast. Right on. So anyway, you get the idea. I'm running out of time here in about 10 minutes. So let me turn this off and we can just talk. Thank you, good friend. Even though you don't like staying tuned, you son of a bitch. Got a little fan blowing on here, as you may notice. It's hot in Los Angeles today. Have an unusual heat wave. And my house is 90 years old, which is only 5 years older than me. So, you guys get the idea of what we're doing, I hope. And I'm really excited because last night we were supposed to be going getting a signed agreement for money, and I haven't heard back yet on that, but I assume it happened. Which means I can go get a shop now, and we can start working, and I can pay for the help that I need to do these things. Right now, I've been working on the kindness of others who want to help me, get this going. So, God, man, this room's like, we're almost done with the construction in the front room here. So about the time I can clear this room out, I'll be moving out. You'll see me from the new place. So anyway, first off, we're going to make a few of the amps that we used to make, mostly for publicity. You guys can help me with that. Like what we're thinking. I mean, for a while, I thought I could just make a business called Little Elvis, right? Everybody loves Little Elvis. And so, yeah, if I go cathode biased, we can do that, Haas. It's a good point. I was getting there, but you kind of beat me to it. Haas Thompson says, I think that an amp where you can swap out the power valves tubes is a selling point has a selling point in today's world. It's one more personal modification that the player can make, in this case, without killing the valves or eardrums. Yeah, it's very true. Like this one, if I set this to cathode bias, you could put any 8-pin power tube in there. EL34s. The thing about EL34s that are fun is there's a few variations of them. Like the one that I like is the EL34-2 that JJ makes. Oh, shit, I ought to just put it in. It only takes a minute. Let's do it for fun while we're talking. But, you can put 5881s in. Like, I'm grabbing these tubes with my bare hands. No, I'm not. No, they're not hot. They're just warm. Surprise me. They're not. They're warm, but it's not going to burn me. But I'm a coward. So, these are 77s from Tube Depot. And then let me throw these are the EL34-2s, which to me sound the most like old Mullards or old Telefunkens. They're really great. So hold on, let me throw them in. Hope you can hear me talking, sorry. All right. No standby switch on this. I had to rob it for the power switches. Again, this power switch setup will not be on the amp. We're going to have a more elegant solution. Yeah, Rob. Probably so. The new power transformer is going to be more expensive than doing. These are EL34s at 2.7 watts. You can hear it's got a little less hair around the edges, right? Wow, Jay, that's nice. Psionic, I'm not familiar with that, but tell the dude I'm in. Yeah. So you can hear EL34s there. It's a little more tidy, a little more modern sounding, right? Not dramatically different than a 77, but it's a great sound. We're still at 2.7 watts though. Here, let me bring it back up. And it takes a second for the bias to adjust, and I'm sure this is too loud now, so hold on a second. Let me just bring it down. Uh-oh, guitar's redlining. Hold on one second, let me fix it. I don't want to give you a digital distortion. Ooh, that's hot. Hold on. All right, right, now let me get them back together so you can hear it. So this is at 20 watts. It's not even close to full power. Not even close to half power. Kind of reminds me of the... that sort of sound. Yeah, Jay, I don't know who that is. I probably should know. I apologize for my ignorance. But if they're talking about me, Lyle who? Hook us up. Can you do that, Jay? Would you mind doing an introduction of some kind? I'd be happy to be on any podcast. Or have him on this one. We have the new place we're going to set up. I got the hiccups. I'm so sorry. I've had the hiccups since apparently I was in my mother's belly. That's how she knew I was okay, because I was hiccuping. And my daughter does that. My daughter's hiccup like crazy. I have some ancestor to thank for that. Anyway, what do you guys think? Do you know where they are, Jay? I like this sound. I mean, I like this amp. It just works. That's the Klon. Psionic doesn't like any builder, it seems. Apparently he likes us. So I like him. So you can hear the EL34s, right? A little more modern, dirty sound. Let's see. Let's give it a little more hell here. Push it a little more on the front. Not a really strong pickup either. If I had a big humbucker, it'd be breaking up more. He fixed the London. What was wrong with it? I'm actually not offended by any of that. Like, you can take our designs and modify it to your own preference. It's like food, you know? Like, some people like different spices on their chicken. That's fine. You know, chicken's still chicken. I'm not precious about it at all. I've seen a lot of guys mod our amps and do really good jobs, you know. They want more gain out of it, or they just, you know, it doesn't suit their ear tonally, so they want more mid-range or more treble, and that's fine. Can you hear coming through? These EL34s are a little more tidy than the 77s. Hey, if he improved the bump, I'd like to learn about it. The bump is a little noisy. We had a hard time getting around it. Yeah, well, on this particular amp, it's just going to be the bump off and on. And then there's a little bump on the clean side that we can put on a foot switch. Just a booster. Like if I'm over here on the clean, I can actually cool it off here with this switch. Great. Well, that's fine. I'll take all the advice I can get. You know, we designed that amp. What year is this? 2025. We designed that amp 23 years ago. That was our first attempt. I have no illusions that it's perfect, right? But anyway, I can do all this Haas on the foot switch. But yeah, the bump makes a little noise when you kick it in. The thing is, you don't hear it when you're playing. When you're sitting here quiet, you hear it. Yeah. Anyway, I like the clean sound on the 77s better. This is the 34th. Hey, Scotty Bratcher made it. All right, buddy. Good to see you. But if I cool off the front end of the amp, it translates to the dirt side, right? And then go back here and hit up. So that'll all be on the foot switch. So what you got are 4 sort of options there that I think will give you everything you need. And then we'll put in a loop for the guys that loop. We've talked about loops, a lot of varying opinions on loops. I am of the camp that doesn't like loops. But I know to some people that's just absolutely crazy. And then you get into that gear page mentality. You disagree with me, you're an idiot. I don't know. I don't disagree with Jimi Hendrix. I don't disagree with Jimmy Page. I don't disagree with Jeff Beck. I don't disagree with Eric Johnson. I do not disagree with Stevie Ray Vaughan. I do not disagree with Eddie Van Halen. I do not disagree with a whole bunch of guys. Billy Gibbons. But that doesn't mean I'm an idiot. Hey, Axel, what's up, buddy? Yeah, I know your job's really busy. I forgot to tell you guys that this show is sponsored by Titleist. Did you hear those 34s have that little quack to them? Welcome, Mr. Inman. I'm glad you're here, buddy. And I know you're a busy guy. I don't get offended if you call me and don't respond. It hurts a lot, but I get over it. It's no big deal. A little whiskey. You know. Kidding. Did you hear these 34s have that little quack to them? That little percussion. The KT77s don't have that. I think they have a better clean sound, and the distortion's just different, you know. We're really getting into shades of gray here, by the way. So yeah, when we convert this over to cathode bias, you can just play with whatever you want. A lot of string and pick articulation. Yeah, there's no right or wrong with loops, Rob. It's fine. Yeah, if you're playing a whole lot of gain, there's more benefit to a loop. But Eddie Van Halen seemed to be fine with it. What does Billy know about tone? There's something you'd see on the gear page. Yeah, Basil. You know, there's a lot of really nice guys on the gear page. I'm just taking the piss out of them. There are a certain group there that are interesting folks. I used to go on there a lot, and then I would be so, like, turned off. It doesn't matter what you'd post on there. Somebody would want to, same meat, different gravy sort of job. Yeah, that's right. It's all, but everybody has their preference, you know. So with this, you can get what you prefer. Be happy. So, yeah, I used to go there and just be like, man, this is a really negative place. And I don't really work well with a lot of negative energy. Doesn't work for me personally. For me, playing guitar, playing rock and roll, making amps is a sort of a mission of love and happiness and fun and joy and youthful exuberance and, you know, things that are the source of life. I know that's a little esoteric, but every time I would go on, wow, did I just get spammed on here? Artificial collisions, cheap viewers on streamboo.com. We'll be smoking that mofo right now. Let's see, how do I do it? Look at that. I got fucking spammed. Now, for some reason, I can't get rid of it. Huh. Well, anyway, hey, Lorenzo from Italy, how are you? I turned off all notifications on the top. That way I can post and never know what happens after. Yeah. So, and then I remember one time I hadn't been on there in like 3 or 4 years, and somebody said, "Oh, they're asking questions about an amp," and um, I hit the big time. I got spammed. Look at me. I'm a real boy. So I went on there. I'm gonna go ahead and shut down. I went on there. Been 3 or 4 years. I don't know what it was. And somebody was asking questions about our amps. I went in there and answered them, and I was a gentleman, and there's people there that have different opinions about stuff, but I don't care. You can have whatever opinion you want. Like, I don't care if you don't eat meat. I don't care if you like hot dogs but don't like tacos. I just don't care. It doesn't matter to me. It doesn't affect my life at all. You know what I'm saying? And it doesn't affect your life, and there's no need to get caught up in that nonsense. Yeah, Jay, you can't live without a loop. Yeah, that's cool, man. I'm just kind of kidding. I just like laugh that I get slammed for not wanting a loop. The Muffin Man. So anyway, so I went on there, and sure enough, like, it turned into a Roman bacchanal of insults and cuss words and people being rude to each other. I guess there are long-standing animosities amongst the community there that kind of came out. And that was not interesting to me. I don't like that at all. It's not that I'm like, oh, I don't like it. I'm scared. It's like, ugh, boring. Grow up, girls. I think most everyone there is nice, but the people who are of the ilk that we spoke about kind of ruin the experience. And the moderators don't claim. I haven't been there now in maybe a decade. Honestly, I don't go there. Does it still exist? I don't know. Yeah, it does, because I remember my friends at Line 6 were really, really worried about comments from the gear page. Don't worry about it. So anyway, yeah, there you have it. I almost spat out my weak lemon squash and wrote my MP a strongly worded letter. That's funny, Hoss. That's why you have to be a co-host on the show. So anyway, so back to the point of, what is Billy Gibbons now, right? I like it when effects get kind of crazy in the front of the amp. Is that weird? Like when an echo goes, oh, cool. Don't worry about it, Andy. Whenever you can, buddy. It's all good. We should talk on the phone. Does using a KT150 for guitar amps make sense? Not for me, Anton. I know there's a new guy doing it right now. In theory, a KT150, I think, is a 70 or 75 watt tube. So if you run that at reasonable voltage, it's really, really powerful. It's not my thing. I think this guy's getting some traction because when you use a tube that big and you run it down at lower voltage, it lasts forever. I'm sure it sounds good. KTs are good sounding tubes. It's not anything I would be interested in for a couple of reasons. I plan on going into bigger production, and there's not going to be this. Those are expensive tubes. Somebody can look them up really quick. I can do it here on my phone. Let's see. Let me look and let me see. Let me see. Let me look and let me see. KT 150s. Yeah, so I got my eyes down, right? I can't read without glasses. Yeah, they're $70 a piece. It's a lot of money. I'm sure wholesale I could probably get them for 45, maybe something like that. They're going for $140 a pair here, Anton. Let me look and see if I can find them cheaper. Even so, at 90 euros, that's $100. for a pair of tubes. Let's see, KT120s. KT120s are $80 a piece. Let's see. Yeah, Upscale Audio has tongue saw KT150s for $140 to $160. I'm sure it's a big, nice tube. But, Tube Depot, they're $67 a piece. Same thing with the Tube Store, $135 for a match pair. So, yeah, it's expensive tube. If I were making just a few amps, it might be kind of cool. I've never tried one, in all fairness. Here, cheapest I can see, there's some internet provider I've never heard of selling a pair for $125. Yeah. So anyway, it's a lot of money. Not really something that's practical for me. Also, I really welcome, I forget the name of the guy. They're cheaper in Europe. It's still not cheap. 90 euros is $100. It's $50 a tube. That's a lot of money. But, the guy, I forget the name of the amps. I saw the video. He looks like a great guy. The amp was really cool. I'm not putting it down. I just don't think it's for me. I could be wrong. I could try a KT150 in the future and really dig it. It seems like massive overkill to me, but it was safe, like especially if I run it like this. Oh my God. The tubes would last for 200 years. So anyway, so these tubes, these KT77s, I can buy for, I think I got a pair of them for $60, something like that. Yeah, I don't know. Either way, Anton, it doesn't really matter to me. It's not really something I'm interested in pursuing today. I might be in the future. Right now, I got a whole lot on my plate of stuff to already do. We've got a whole lot of design work. We've got a 4-stage plan. I'm going to start doing some digital integration next year. Struck a license deal with 2Notes. I'm going to use their load box and their software. But I'm going to get an open version of the software so I can modify it. Many of you know I used to be in the software business for a long time. So we're going to kind of hybrid the two worlds. But we're still going to make just standard old tube amps for fun like this. So let's get back to my original thing. We kind of want to pick like 3 or 4 amps from our original lineup that we think would be worth resurrecting. Just going to build them hand-wired here in Los Angeles. They'll be expensive. But it's our flagship sort of posh thing, right? Which ones do you guys think would be the way to go? I immediately think of Little Elvis, London, Soho, possibly Stone Pony. But Elvis for sure. I mean, I could make a whole amp company called Little Elvis, I think. That amp is timeless and sells instantly. London is the original one. We could definitely improve it. Maybe our friend over here at the podcast can help me improve it, which would be great. I would welcome that with open arms. And then, there's Tupelo. There's the Monterey, which was really, really popular. There's the Ventura, the little one, that was kind of affordable. Also a great amp. The Empire was really difficult to build, hand-wired. We should have never made that amp hand-wired. That was a mistake. So what do you guys think? A hand-wired whiskey. Yeah, I've got like 5 of them. I would like to change the whiskey. The dirt sounds great on it, but the clean channel's not. That needs some work. We would have to modify that, which that's possible to do. It's not a real complicated amp. It's based on components. Like all of our stuff, none of the circuits are insane. You kept your producer all these years. Yeah, Mark. I think we're going to bring back the producer, but probably not do the hand-wired versions of them. We could. It's not a bad idea. Just it would be expensive. Now the cost of building amps now is literally double what it was when I did my license deal. I did my license deal at the end of 2012. So 2013 on, the amps were made, by Boutique Amps Distribution. They did a great job of making the amps. It just wasn't a fit for their business model, boutique hand-wired stuff, which I totally get. But that would be a good one to do like this and make it more of a production amp, I think. What do you guys think? And you can feel free to tell me that I'm stupid and stoned, and it's okay. Psionic. I'm going to have to look these guys up. I'll reach out to them. I know there's a lag here, so I'm going to give you a minute. Tell me what you think. Tell me what you think. I guess doing some research into current trends may help. Yeah, we're doing that. I just want your opinion. I like your opinion. You specifically, Hoss, but everybody. Everyone's gone painfully silent. Kind of scares me. There's the trends come and go. Like when we first started, everything was 18-watt Marshalls. And the London was kind of that. The one channel of that is pretty similar. Not a copy, but very similar to an 18-watt Marshall. Phil says, I treasure my Elvis, Ventura, and whiskey. Okay. Hard thing is I haven't owned them all. Yeah, that's cool, Mark. It's just a question, no pressure. It's all right if there's no real answer to that. I know Elvis sells like crazy. Used ones, anything with EL84s. I always wanted a purple Marquis. Yeah. So, the Marquis is great. And we also did a Producer 84. Which just as good. The Marquis is a little more aggressive sounding. Yeah, that's something, when we get into 4-tube amps, we're probably going to go into production. 6v6 and 5879. Yeah, I agree, Anton. So those sockets don't pin out the same, so you can't swap the tubes, right? The socket has to be rewired. A 5879 does not pin out like a normal 8-pin power tube. It's just a couple of wires and a resistor, I think. It's not a big deal. But yeah, I'd like to bring back the Stone Pony, which is 5879s. Let's see. I also have, I think I brought this up before, but I just want to bring it up again. Not 58, I'm sorry, 5879s is the, you got me mixed up here. 5791s are what I'm thinking of with the Stone Pony. Anton, the 5879 is Fred Tacone's tube with the divided by 13s. I'm going to leave that up to him. But I do have a bunch, you got me mixed up because I have a bunch of these sitting here. I've got dozens of good vintage 5879s for you guys that own divided by 13s. I'll sell them to you at a good price. 5791 is the power tube I'm thinking of, Anton. Sorry, I'm a little slow today. I'm tired. So, yeah. But I mean, that's kind of really stepping on divided by 13's toes if I do that. I'm not super comfortable with that. I mean, I could, and then, divided by 13 got bought by 2Rock. So, I don't know. It's kind of been done. It's kind of his thing, Like when we first started, we thought we were going to do that. And it got back to us that he was uncomfortable with that. And I totally respect that. Dr. Z is not me, bud. Yeah, it's so the 5879 is similar to an EF86. It's just kind of an American pentode instead of, that's the F86 is English, right? So, um, okay, well, Anton, you should go buy one of those amps. But I think you're wise to lean power and self-controlled low box of genius. Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, I know they got bought, right? So I'm not ruling it out. 5879 is a good sounding tube. There are not many of them around. They're a hard tube to find, and they're just as bitchy as an EF86. So I'm already kind of in bed with a really bitchy tube. Like we got to buy a lot of EF86s to make sure you get a good one. So anyway, I guess if you're talking hand wired, then super versatility to make the asking price have more perceived value. Yeah, that's right. I mean, the Elvis is very so. Andy Inman here, Axel, Brandon Sturm. You're always late. Yeah, they start at 12 o'clock Pacific. You missed a lot. You have to watch the recording. So Axel Inman says, my Elvis is still the best for my gigging needs. Great sound and amazing tremolo. The Stone Pony is just awesome. That's the thing. Like the Stone Pony was, I couldn't tell you how disappointed I was when we had to quit making that amp. Oh, we really liked that amp. Those tubes are killer. And now I can use them with this. So there's a lot to think about, a lot to consider. A lot to consider. So anyway, it's 1:22 here on the west coast of the United States, out here in California. You guys got anything else you want to go over before we call it a day? Anton, I'm just giving you a hard time. I got a lot on my plate, so designing amps around new tubes is probably not going to happen for a while. If the 5879 were such a huge draw, I think it would be mainstream. It's a difficult tube to work with. But Mark, if you have some, I have a bunch of, the 5879 has a little more mid-range content to it than the EF86 does. It's a little more focused in the mids. EF86 is more of a hi-fi sounding tube, which gives you a lot of options when you're designing. It helps. Where are you, Anton? Where are you in Europe? Gibson used 5879s in the 50s, I think. Is that what you're talking about? Because Fred Tacone's amps were based on a GA40, that Rusty Anderson had. It was like a late 50s Gibson GA40 with two 6v6s. He just made it with four 6v6s and made it higher voltage, so it was more of a stage amp. That original amp was really quiet. Still wanting a Tupelo with Soho bump controls. Oh. Okay. Yeah, Mark, there's a bit. Oh, you're in Belgium. Okay, cool. Welcome. Mike Leaptrot says, Dan, I enjoy this enough that I am tuned in from the beach. Well, put your sunscreen on and stop looking at those young girls. You're too old. Not really. Go ahead. Tupelo with a Soho bump. Yeah, okay. That's a good suggestion. So when we go into like production amps, not hand-wired amps, it's way easier to implement all these things. Because when you're doing with the hand-wired amps, it's not that it's too complicated. It's not that it's too much work or anything like that. It's not that it's too much cost. It's that the more wires... Yeah, definitely don't shout shark. Yeah, that's right. When you get a bunch of wires, flying wires in an amplifier, you run the risk of introducing noise. And so the Empire is one of those ones, like, God, we had to do a lot of work to keep that amp quiet. And then what that means is time. For the builders can build it. It's no big deal. Like adding an extra hour to a hand wire build is no big deal. Like the builders we have work so fast, it looks like a machine. But then it's when the tech... good answer, Mike. He says, my wife is the hottest one I've seen today so far, and I'm so good so far. Good answer. You're a diplomat for sure. Quite the gentleman. But then the tech has to put it on the bench and get it quiet. So he's got to get in there and move wires around and silicone a wire down over here and do all the stuff you need to get. It takes time. And sometimes, especially with an Empire, we would see a guy, I'd have one of my techs who would work on the amp after it was built and fires up and works. He would have to spend 3 or 4 hours getting it quiet. It's not very realistic, for a business to do that, because these are not minimum wage cheap people. These are skilled people with experience. And so when you're paying somebody $30 an hour, $35 an hour, you don't really want to waste the time. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but if we can, when we go, I have a really good engineer to work with to do printed circuit board designs. And printed circuit board stuff now sounds every bit as good as hand wired, sometimes even better because it can be quiet. Like the whiskey. That's why we went with a printed circuit board on the whiskey. It was quieter than the hand wired ones. I only, we use different components because it was a printed circuit board, but so it's dual. You get what I'm saying? Like we can do this. And I can go much more complicated, but a lot more feature functionality. I do, however, have an anxiety about putting too much shit on an amp. But adding one switch to a Tupelo is not a big deal. That might be something we could do in the hand-wired format. There's a lot to discuss, right? It always, it's human nature to look over the fence and go, I could do that. It's easy. And why don't you just do this? Without knowing what's going on behind the scenes. And that was the quick and dirty explanation. I can give you the detailed explanation that would make you go, okay, I get it, stop. Hand-wired amps they're a challenge. It's a fun challenge, but it's a challenge nonetheless, right? But in parallel, so we're going to do these first few amps like we used to, a couple of ameliorations, couple of improvements, nothing big, while at the same time working out this low voltage thing. Oh, you mean the selectable tone and level for the bump? See, now it gets bigger. We'll talk. We'll see what we can do. It's just a very different circuit. And also doesn't have the EF86 in it. So anyway, at the same time, we're going to be working out this low voltage thing and getting new models. Some will be hand wired at first, but not very many. Those will be something to jump on because it's going to cost too much to make hand wired. $5,000-$6,000 amplifiers aren't going to sell. And honestly, like if I was selling a London head for $2,500 in 2002, what do you think it costs now? I don't think there's a big market up in that level, but we're going to do it for the publicity of it, get on the podcast, get the magazine reviews, and get on the radar. And then we're going to go into more production level stuff that it's affordable. And by affordable, I don't mean cheap, especially with the tariff situation going on. Like getting a good amp under $2,000 is going to be really difficult forever now. $3,000, $2,000 to $3,000 is going to be where everything is. I think we're going to, I don't know how much we're going to sell through stores, probably some select dealers, some high-end places are going to do a lot of direct sales, internet-based sales. I've not seen those Magnatone amps. Now, those are factory made overseas, and how much do they cost? I don't know. I think the buyers these days are much more receptive to the idea that a high quality PCB than they used to be. Yeah, they're better than they used to be. Design software has improved dramatically. And also, you can, it's just, we've learned a lot, in 10 years, last 20 years, last 30 years. So a PCB amp from the 80s or 90s, it's like a car from the 90s, there's a new Honda Civic that has 400 horsepower. A Honda Civic. Now, when I was in high school, those cars had like 90 horsepower. I had a 66 GTO with a 389 tri-power motor, 3 two-barrel carburetors, and a Muncie 4-speed, and it had 380 horsepower and got like 8 miles per gallon. Now, it made a hell of a noise, and it would snap your neck. It did not like to turn, and it did not like to stop. But it's a fun, sexy car. Now I can go buy a Honda Civic that has 400 horsepower, gets 30 miles per gallon, 35 miles per gallon, turns like a son of a gun, and stops on a dime. $6,300 for a head and 412. Yeah, they got to pay slash on that too, though. When you buy a signature model, you got to pay the artist for his name. They don't just go, yeah, sure, use my name, whatever you want to do. Jay Frisbee says, I think the buyers, I'm sorry, I read that already. Mike Leaptrot says, I've got a Magtone, good amp. I run one and stay with my producer. Yeah, I went on a business trip a couple years ago, and it was a music business trip. No, not GTO Ferrari, Pontiac GTO. The pale American descendant of GTO. Pontiac GTO. Anyway, if I had a GTO Ferrari, what's that worth now? $10 million? So anyway, I played some of the Magnetones. There's definitely a difference between the models, for sure. I found one that I really liked, and it was based on one of their old amps. And it sounded great. It sounded really cool. I liked it. A lot of fun. But it was definitely a factory-made printed circuit board amp, and it was fine. It sounded great. $6,300, though. That's a lot of cash. That's a lot of cash. I don't think I'll be that expensive. But the Gibbons head looks like it's $3,000, $3,000. Yeah, that's about right. I understand. Hoss Thompson says, Pontiac explains why it didn't like to turn. Yeah, that's right. Those big old American muscle cars are really fun in a straight line. They don't like to stop, and they don't like to turn. Now, in modern times, we can retrofit them with good stuff, but the parts that we needed to stop back then didn't exist. It's a big, heavy-ass car. It's not like a European sports car that weighs half. Big, heavy car. And also here, the suspension was always set up to ride like you're on your grandmother's sofa. European sports cars are not. They're very different feel. I love them both, by the way. I'm not going to get into that discussion. I've had many Porsche, and I really love them. Old ones and new ones. So, anyway, but you see my point, right? Like, it's expensive to do hand wired, so we're just going to do it for a emblematic, thing. It's not really a business anymore. Unless you want to pay $6,300 for an amp. I might sell 25 of those or something, maybe. Anton Pope, do you know of any amp builders that have to stop a model because, not yet. The tariffs haven't really affected anything yet. So, it takes stuff like 2 or 3 months to get here from China. So when did the tariffs go in effect? In March? So we're not going to see that here until, starting this month, maybe next month. And then there's existing inventory, in warehouses that people are going to go through first. So we probably won't really see the effects of this until the fall. Now, my amps, I don't really buy that much from China. I never had anything made in China. I bought some parts that are Chinese only because they just don't exist in the United States, like chicken head knobs and LED lights, little shit that just doesn't matter. It's not going to change the price of the amp. Might have to raise the price of the amp $10 or something. What does it say, Haas? Morgans are still made with ash substructure? I can't decide if it's genius or madness. I don't know what you mean. Ash wood? Is that what you mean? I don't know. But Anton, to answer your question directly, I don't know of anyone yet. I know of people that are changing their plans. looking for alternative contract manufacturers outside of China. Matter of fact, we're probably going to end up going to Mexico. Even though they're not the cheapest country to do contract manufacturing in, their proximity makes it all worth it. Ashwood, yeah, I don't know. I don't know anything about that, Hoss. Ash is a fine wood. I don't know if there's anything wrong with it. So, if I had to, most of the... oh, you're talking about Morgan cars. Oh, God, I'm sorry. I'm talking about Morgan amps. I'm slow today. Honestly, I didn't get any sleep. My wife had to go to work this morning, and I got up at 5:30 to help her with some stuff. So, yeah, wooden frame cars, right? Yeah, no, it's madness. There's no question there, Hoss. That's madness. Anyway, the hell was I talking about? Anyway, someone get me back on track. I'm sorry I blew it. I got distracted by you car people. So Anton, yes. So Mexico, I could actually just get in a truck and go down and get them. Most of the factories in Mexico are in northern Mexico, right by the border. I have an aunt, cousins that live in Yuma, Arizona. And the southern side of Yuma, Arizona is Algodones, Mexico. I could literally call my cousin Matt and go, hey, man, can you get a U-Haul run over? Squirrel. There's my dogs. Can you run over to Algodones and pick up some pallets? Because I could have it shipped to Algodones, and then run over and get them. And I'm a NAFTA registered vendor anyway, so it's no big deal. Even though like the manufacturing is not as cheap as China, by the time also there's not the lead time. It doesn't take 3 months to come over on a ship. And with the price of diesel going up, like shipping from China is not nearly as cheap as it used to be. So the reliability of Mexico is really great. And a lot of those factories were opened by Fender. No, USSR tongue saws are great. Yeah. I'm not a fan of all their tubes, but some of them are really good. I like their EF86. You're talking about the electro-harmonics stuff, right? The tongue saws, that's electro-harmonics. Make Mexico great again. Mexico's already great. Mexico's killer. When you come over, Hoss, we'll go down for the day. Mexico has its problems, for sure, but easy to avoid. Lovely people, amazing food, great culture, great art, great music. I love Mexico. And where I live was Mexico for like 300 years before white people said, there's gold in California? Oh, no. God says we should take it. They used to have this thing here called Manifest Destiny. Have you ever heard of that? It was a political rationalization that God wants the United States to take over all land of value. It's astonishing horseshit, right? Yeah. Anyway, Anton, I like Russian tubes, but I don't think we have tariffs with Russia. So they're not going to go up. That's fine. And Chinese tubes are so cheap, I don't really care. I don't really use any Chinese tubes. I use Russian tubes and Czech Republic tubes, JJs, right? These stinkers here. Slovak Republic, I'm sorry, I misspoke. Slovakia. We don't have any tariffs with them. My gal, the boutique owner, could school lots of government folk on Chinese shipping. Yeah. No. So the Senate isn't asking for any tariffs here, Anton. That's just our president. So no, I haven't heard of any 500% tariffs on anything. The biggest one was 145% on China. Now that's down to 30%. It seems to be a game of chicken. It's really not a really... Lorenzo, we did similar stuff with the Crusades. Yeah, it's the same stuff. Literally, like, this was Mexico, and then this guy named Sutter in Northern California discovered gold up there, and 2 years later, California was a state. So, oh, Mike, good question. And the answer is yes. Oh, Anton, those are sanctions. That's not tariffs. That's something else. But, and Congress can't really, it takes more than that. I don't have time to go into how U.S. government works, but there's more to it than that. But Congress can't just do that. There's a process. It's not sort of an arbitrary waving of the wand and then it changes. Do you notice a difference in the long plate JJ 12X7s versus the short plate? Yes, quite a bit. I like long plate anything better. So what you're talking about is the ECC83S, right, Mike? That's the long plate 12AX7, the ECC83S. I like that way better because the little short plate JJs are really meant for high gain amps because they just distort. That's all they do. You can't really get a good clean sound out of it. They are harder to find. They don't make as many of them. There's a higher rejection rate on it. Why do I'm trying to get this off. Sorry. I can't click on your link. I can just tell from the thing it says Congress sanctions Russia, but there's more to it. Is there a precedent for an early? No. Our system's not like your parliamentary system where you can do that. A vote of no confidence is what you're talking about. Yeah, we don't do that here. I wish we did. It would be come in handy for many past presidents. Hey, Randy Kraft, how are you, buddy? Thanks for saying hi. You're a busy man. That's cool. I'm good. You're fine. The good news is that our presidents are temporary. Whether they're your party or your ilk or not, they're all temporary. All things come to an end. And then, we have these things called midterm elections. So the president is somewhat helpless without the support of Congress. An example like sanctioning Russia. This particular president really likes Russia, and I doubt any sanctions are going to happen. So when we have a midterm election, more than every president in history that has had the House and the Senate. I'm looking up something here really quick so I can explain it. They get kneecapped in the midterm elections. So Ronald Reagan, so I just looked it up, Anton. There's some people in Congress calling for a 500% sanction. It's not going to happen. There's a big difference. So our politicians are only beholding to their home district. They're not beholding to their party. So they say all kinds of nonsense, a lot of nonsense, to get headlines. That's all it is. There's not going to be a 500% tariff on anything. But so Ronald Reagan and his first midterm got kneecapped. Bill Clinton, same thing. His first midterm was 94. He had both houses of Congress and his party. They got completely kneecapped, just destroyed. George W. Bush, same thing. 2002, got kneecapped. Barack Obama, who had a big election victory in 2008. In 2010, he got just murdered in the midterms, lost all power. Very likely the same thing's going to happen here. Historically speaking, that's the deal. So the interesting stuff that's going on, I hate to get into politics because I'm kind of apolitical in that I don't like all politicians. I'm registered independent. I don't align with either of our parties because I think they're, what's the word I'm looking for? Shameless whores. But you have to deal with politics, right? And you have to deal with it. But I agree with Republicans on some stuff. I agree with Democrats on some stuff. I don't think the richest country in the world should have homeless people starving, but that's just me. So I think wealthy people should pay their fair share of taxes, all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, I don't think the government should waste a lot of money. It's kind of a conflict, right? Because those are two different party lines right there. So anyway. So yeah, boy, did I get derailed, huh? So Anton, when you read that article, they're talking about a senator named Lindsey Graham, who, for all intents and purposes, is one of the biggest shameless whores in Congress. First off, I think Lindsey is clearly confused about his identity. But also he says a lot of crazy hyperbolic things just for this reason, because people are going to publish it and say Congress wants to put a 500% tariff on it. It's not going to happen. So because our politicians are only beholding to their home district, not to their party, they do things like the big joke. I have a degree in political science, by the way. It's right there on the wall. It's actually back there on the wall. And I come from a very political family. My full name's Harry Daniel Boole II. My grandfather was friends with Harry Truman, right? So, from Missouri. Anyway, so the big joke in political science is, you know, there's some states here where their economy is dependent on really one crop. For example, Iowa. They make all their money growing corn. If you ever drive through Iowa, there is corn planted literally up to the side of the road everywhere you go, even in the town. They plant every square inch of dirt they have, they fill it with corn. And corn's a very popular thing for humans to eat and for other animals to eat, right? It's a very sought after commodity. So the big joke when I studied political science was that the rep from the House, from the House of Representatives would come back to his home district, and he would say, I introduced a bill into Congress that said everybody should eat corn for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And those people over there fought me, and they're screwing you, and they're to blame for all your troubles. And it's a big country with a lot of people that don't pay attention to politics or how government works, and they buy all that nonsense. Now, that's an extreme example, and it's mostly for humor, but you get the idea. So Lindsey Graham is one of those guys that'll go back to his home state and say, I tried to get a big tariff on Russia, 500%, which is completely unfeasible and will never happen. But the people in his home state don't know that. Most people don't know that. They don't understand the U.S. government is enormous and it doesn't move quickly, and no one group or one person can just make a law. It's an intentionally slow and complicated procedure to keep emotions out of the law. So Lindsey Graham will say nonsense like that. Anyway, don't worry, your Russian tubes are not going to get expensive here. I like Russian tubes, they're fine. So anyway, I get a little bummed out when Anton, I'm not picking on you, I'm sorry. You're from Belgium. I don't know why you wouldn't understand how government works here. But it doesn't work like that. And that's okay. I don't know how the government works in Belgium other than I think you have a parliament, and I understand parliamentary setups because I lived in England for a long time, but I know England's parliament is different than yours, likely. So I don't know what I'm talking about Belgium. But don't worry. Don't buy that stuff. Don't get worked up. Don't get upset. And don't get fooled. Does that make sense? Anyway, I do got to go. Oh my God, we're at an hour and 54 minutes already. And we got into a political conversation, which is a complete, utter waste of time for everybody. Their waffles kick ass. They do. I've been to Belgium as a tourist, and I really had a great time. Beautiful country filled with nice people. In my personal experience, has all been positive. I like them a lot. And yes, the food was outstanding. Food was outstanding. Jay Frisbee says Russian tubes are filled with vodka vapors, right? Totally. Yeah. That and potatoes. What else would it be? Anyway, Jay, hook me up with the psionic guy, please. I can look him up and find him, but it'd be better if you could guide me because I'm old and stupid. But I do got to run. I got to go. Got to get show on the road, Joe. Anyway, I love you guys. Thanks for sticking around. I mean, I'm watching the head count here, and it's kind of been steady all day, so I just kind of stuck it out. I understand from young people, like my children who are in their 20s, that the attention span on the internet now is 90 seconds or 2.5 hours. Belgian waffles are great. They're pastries, they're chocolates. Come on, Lorenzo, that's some good stuff. They don't have Italian food, but no one does. Even Italian food here in the U.S. is not like the Italian food I had in Italy. Something about the wheat, with your pasta or the milk or the eggs. I don't know what it is. But dang, the food's good over there. What's weird, though, is that people that live on Italian food here are all enormous. Not in Italy. I don't know how that is. I guess because you guys walk everywhere. I don't know. You walk a lot more than Americans do. I noticed that, even in France and England, you've got 30 minutes to go, says Ross Fletcher. I can do it. We can have a marathon here if you want. Apparently 2.5 hours is the deal. Joe Rogan or somebody has set the bar on that. All right, so let's review. Money came in. Yay, money came in. Yeah, I know, Lorenzo. It's all good, brother. You're fine. Every country in Europe has their serious strengths and some weaknesses too. But I don't need to bring that up. Josh Scott from JHS Pedals is sending me his Rat Pack pedal, and I'm going to play it next week. I'm going to bring out the Gretsch again, probably just leave the EL34s in here for Haas. I might get some KT66s in the meantime. I might go over to see Marty at ARS this week and get some tubes. I'm kind of hesitant to spend any more money because I'm waiting for this company money to come in. I've been doing this out of my own pocket, but I should probably order another transformer for sure. Anyway, many thanks. Yeah, just for you, Haas. You're my bro. You're my bruv. All right, my bruv. I really do miss England. I miss Europe, actually. I love it over there. I really had a great time. My grandparents were all recent immigrants. And I don't know, I just felt fine there. I didn't feel like I tell you honestly, the place that I felt the most like a foreigner was in England. And I didn't feel very foreign there. But when I went to France and Germany, because we rebuilt, the U.S. Army rebuilt it. It looks a lot like the United States, especially Germany, France, the freeway systems and all that stuff. Anyway, I miss it over there. I love it. I love the food. I love the people. I love the variety of people. Josh Scott is a funny guy. He's a really nice person. And I love, I had a German grandmother and an Irish grandmother, right? And going over there and eating that food makes one happy. It really does. It makes you happy. Hoss Thompson says, I think 65 amps needs a full set of new Titleist drivers. That's true. I forgot to tell you, the show is sponsored by Titleist with the new GT series of drivers. They have a driver for everybody. The GT1, tons of fun. The GT2 works for me and you. The GT3, if you want a few more yards for free. And the GT4, you already hit it well. You just want a little more. The GT drivers. Is that some good ass kissing or what? I mean, come on. That's some fucking weapons grade. I'm cussing. Ooh. So, yeah, once we get into the second hour of the show, then it's cuss time, right? Can we do that? Are you guys okay with that? Or am I going to scare people off? I tend to cuss like a sailor, but and the T-Series iron, I got to tell you, Andy, those that T series looks really cool. Like with your past series, I wasn't really drawn to the 200 other than when I did the fitting, it worked for me on the longer irons. But when I look at those now, that 250 looks killer. I really want to talk to you about that in detail. I know you're fitting those right now for tour guys, right? So, made me chortle. Yeah, Axel. So this guy, Axel Inman, Axel's not his real name. He works for Titleist. So he's out there fitting tour guys with these clubs. And he's one of us. He's a 65 guy. He plays guitar for a living and for money, and has a few 65s. And, so I'm constantly working him for Titleist gear. Like, how can I cozy up to you and make that work? But that 250, it is sexy, huh? I like the look of the 100 and the 150 or whatever it is, but that 250 suits my eye. Man, it looks like a blade. It looks more like a blade than the other ones. And for me, that, it could be the most forgiving, crazy club in the world, but if it looks like a blade, I like it. And the top line's nice and thin. Like, dang, Danny Likey, we got to work something out. You want one of these new amps? Seriously, I'm not kidding. Or I can retrofit all your amps for you. Anyway, let's work it out. But Titleist, the new GT Series driver, and the T Series irons coming your way this fall at a retailer near you. Somebody's full of crap. Anyway, we're at 2 hours. Should I really go 2.5 hours? Is that really a thing? Do I have a business email? No, Jay, not yet. Use danboole@me.com. I'm in the process of getting my domain back. Thank you, Axel. I'm just kind of ribbing you a little bit, but I'd like to figure out a way. Those 250s look killer to me. I mean, I met him with that and went, that. That looks like these old Titleist 660s I used to have in the 90s. They're great, great clubs. Those were some of my favorite irons I've ever owned in my life. The only reason I got rid of them is the grooves wore out. Anyway, I got to go. I got dogs. I got dogs that need to go outside and do their business, and I got to make some lunch. Anyway, it's been great. 2 hours is fun. Should we make this a 2-hour show? I don't know. You tell me. Anton Pope, why does 65 have the number 65 on it? Well, I have two responses to that. One is, why not? But the other is, I was born in 65. It was a temporary name. Yeah, please, Andy, I'd love to see it. How do I test these things? I want to hit them so bad. It was a temporary name until we came up with a name for the company. Peter was made in 1959, and I was made in 1965. So we just kind of went, the amps are kind of reminiscent of the mid-60s Voxes and early Marshall combos and stuff. So 65, and we'll come up with a good name later. We're still working on it. So that was in 2002, so 23 years ago. Brian Mendes said, I thought you were born in 55. No, man. Dang, I'd be old. This is my dearest friend, Brian Mendes here. Turning 60. That's right. Good math there, Ross. I will be 60 in August, which is a long time from now. Yeah, I'll be 60 years old. I do not feel 60 at all. I'm definitely not mature enough to be 60, that's for sure. But inside, I feel like I'm 38. Physically. Physically, I don't feel 60. I definitely don't feel young, but I don't feel 60. I have a lot of, I've had some health problems that you guys know about, but I've been repaired. I'm like Steve Austin. I've been rebuilt and better. So my heart feels great. You guys were here when I think I started having heart problems on my show, if I remember correctly. I had to end my show that day. You passed the 60 number yourself. Yeah, this one's kind of weird in my head. Like 50 kind of messed with me for a couple of weeks. 60, you just kind of start thinking about retirement and death, I guess. But I don't feel 60. I don't ever plan on retiring. I'm going to work till I drop. which is hopefully well into my 80s. My dad's 81, still practices law. My really good friend George is a lawyer, also is 87. We have conversations like this speed. He has a sense of humor. I am clearly of the camp that says your body and your mind will work as long as you use them. For me, retirement is you quit using your mind and your body. So I don't plan on ever doing that. I might switch careers. I might stuff. Brian Mendes and I need to talk about what year I was born, because 55, what the hell, man? That'd make me 70 years old, dude. I wasn't born no 55. WTF? Anyway, yeah, do I seem 60? I don't know. I'm kind of immature for 60, I guess. Anyway, and now we're talking about age. I see the numbers drop off. People are like, yeah, you know what? Screw this. I'm out of here. Anyway, I got to run. I do enjoy you guys quite a bit. I really appreciate you being here today. Enjoying the sample with me next week. Hopefully have better news for you. We're going to have some parts ordered. We're going to get moving forward. And I'll have my JHS pedal that we can play with for a while. You guys can help me dial it in. Anyway, but I got to run. I still have that little Marshall over here, that little... that I put the old Mullards in, and it sounds killer. We could do the Rat with that and see if I can mimic my Sunset Strip 1986, 1987, 1988 tone, if you want to. Talk soon. Yeah, Andy, give me a call whenever you get a chance. Thanks, Jay, for being here. I appreciate it. Yeah, hook me up with the Psionic. I don't know anything about it. If he's got a way to improve the bump or something, Jesus, let me know. I'm down. You know, that's an amp we designed 18 years ago, 19 years ago. So I'm sure there's a lot of ways to improve all this stuff. Thank you, Anton, for coming. I appreciate the good questions. Hoss Thompson, always a pleasure, sincerely. We are going to get you on here. I need to make that work. My life just got a little bit crazy this week. Anyway, got to go. Love you, fellas. Mean it. We'll talk real soon. And... reach out to me on Facebook or danboole@me.com, whatever you want. In the meantime, if you have any thoughts or questions, I'm very curious about your opinions on what amps we should bring back. So think about that, digest it, and get back to me. Okay, gotta go. Love you, bye.